I remember the rain that day, not the gentle kind that cleans the streets, but the merciless Portland downpour that seems to wash away hope itself. My patrol car's wipers worked overtime as I drove past Lincoln Square Market for the third time that week. And there he was again. An old man, probably in his 70s, sitting on a milk crate just outside the entrance, soaked to the bone, his grey hair plastered to his forehead, rainwater dripping from his beard like tears. But what caught my attention wasn't his ragged appearance. It was how he hunched protectively over something in his hands. A picture frame. Nothing fancy, just a simple wooden frame covered with a plastic bag to keep it dry, while he himself made no effort to seek shelter. I drove past, just like I had the previous 2 days, just like everyone else did, hurrying inside with their umbrellas and raincoats, careful not to make eye contact with the reminder of human fragility sitting at their periphery. Something gnawed at me as I turned the corner. The way he sat there was a dignity to it, a purpose. This wasn't a man begging or sleeping rough. This was someone waiting. Screw it, I muttered, hitting the brakes and making an illegal U-turn. I parked directly in front of him, the cruiser's lights casting blue and red shadows across his weathered face. He didn't flinch, didn't look up. His focus remained on that frame, his thumb occasionally wiping away raindrops that threatened to reach the photograph inside. "Sir?" I approached, my badge gleaming under the market's fluorescent lights. "I'm Captain Reynolds with Portland PD. Mind if I sit with you for a minute?" His eyes, clear blue despite the redness around them, finally lifted to meet mine. No fear, no resentment toward authority, just exhaustion. "Walter," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "My name's Walter Kovacs." I crouched beside him, my uniform immediately soaking up the rain. "You've been here for days, Walter. Is there somewhere I can take you? A shelter, maybe?" He shook his head slowly, then turned the frame toward me. Inside was a faded photograph of a young woman with his same blue eyes, smiling at the camera, a birthday cake with 18 candles in front of her. "My daughter," he said, "Sarah." Before continuing with what Walter revealed next, I want to mention something important. YouTube has been removing subscriptions lately, so if you enjoy these true stories, please check if you're still subscribed and leave a like to support our channel. It helps these important stories reach more people. Now, back to that rainy day in Portland. "When did you last see her?" I asked, already feeling something shift in my chest. The familiar tug that had made me a detective before becoming captain. 10 years, 2 months, and 14 days ago, Walter replied without hesitation. "She walked into this supermarket to apply for a job. Never walked out." I felt the hair on my neck stand up. Not because of the chill of the rain, but because something in Walter's story wasn't adding up. Lincoln Square Market had only been open for 8 years. "Walter," I said carefully, "this building wasn't a supermarket 10 years ago." The old man's eyes locked onto mine, suddenly sharp and clear. "Exactly, Captain. And that's why I'm still waiting." I couldn't leave him there in the rain. That revelation, that discrepancy in his timeline, it wasn't the ramblings of a confused old man. There was something deeply unsettling about the clarity in his eyes. "Let me buy you a cup of coffee, Walter," I said, helping him to his feet. "You can tell me more somewhere dry." The diner across the street was nearly empty. Just a waitress wiping down counters and a truck driver nursing a late-night coffee. The neon open sign buzzed above us, casting an electric blue glow across Walter's face as he carefully placed the framed photo on the table between us. "Black, 2 sugars," he said when the waitress approached. His hands trembled slightly as he removed the plastic covering from the frame. "So what was here before the market?" I asked once our coffees arrived. Walter wrapped his weathered hands around the mug. Parkside Medical Center, a small private hospital with a psychiatric ward. He took a careful sip. Sarah had episodes. Started when she was 16. Doctors called it bipolar disorder with psychotic features. I nodded, letting him continue at his own pace. She was doing better, taking her medication, seeing her therapist. She just turned 18, wanted to get a job, prove she could be independent. His voice cracked. I drove her to an interview at the grocery store that used to be 2 blocks down. She called me after, so excited. They offered her a position starting the following week. Walter's fingers traced the edge of the photograph. On her way home, she saw someone in distress outside the hospital. Sarah always had the biggest heart. Too big, maybe. She called me, said she was going to help this woman who seemed confused, maybe escort her back into the facility. He looked up at me. That was the last time I heard her voice. "Did you file a missing persons report?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Immediately. The detective assigned said all the right things, but Walter's eyes hardened. 3 days later, they found her backpack in the Columbia River. Concluded she must have jumped. Case closed. But you didn't believe it. Sarah wouldn't have killed herself. Not then. She was excited about her future for the first time in years. He tapped the table, his conviction unwavering. And they never found her body. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows. I couldn't help but feel there was something to his story. Something that had been overlooked. 2 years after she disappeared, they demolished the hospital, built that market, and every lead I had went cold. Walter's voice dropped to almost a whisper. Except one. Before he could continue, the lights in the diner flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. Our waitress muttered something about the old wiring during storms. If you appreciate these real-life mysteries, please make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube has been removing subscriptions without notice lately. A quick like also helps us bring more of these untold stories to light. Now, back to Walter's revelation. "What lead, Walter?" I pressed, unable to hide my growing interest. He leaned forward, his voice dropping even lower. "Every year on the anniversary of Sarah's disappearance, I get a postcard. No return address, no message. Just a Polaroid picture of Sarah's necklace, a silver butterfly I gave her for her 16th birthday, placed in different locations." A chill ran down my spine despite the diner's warmth. "The most recent one came 3 days ago," he continued, reaching into his pocket with trembling hands. "It's why I've been sitting outside that market, because this time the necklace was photographed on a shelf inside Lincoln Square Market's stockroom. As he placed the Polaroid on the table, lightning flashed outside, illuminating what looked like an employee-only area. And there it was, a delicate silver butterfly necklace hanging from a nail on the wall. "Someone wants you to know she was there," I whispered, the detective in me already calculating angles, possibilities. Walter's eyes were bright with something between hope and terror. "Or that she still is." I stared at the Polaroid in disbelief. After 15 years as a police captain in this town, I thought I'd seen everything. But this case, Walter's unwavering conviction, the mysterious Polaroids, it was getting under my skin in a way I hadn't experienced since my rookie days. "Walter, I need to see the market's stockroom," I said, throwing a 20 on the table. "Tonight?" The rain had eased to a gentle mist as we crossed the street toward Lincoln Square Market. The fluorescent lights inside cast an artificial glow across the empty parking lot. It was 10:45 p.m., 15 minutes until closing. "Wait here," I instructed Walter, leaving him under the shelter of the entrance overhang. Inside, a teenager with blue-tipped hair was mopping the floor, earbuds firmly in place. The night manager, a heavy-set woman with Doris on her name tag, eyed me suspiciously as I approached the counter. I flashed my badge. Evening, Doris. Police Captain James Reeves. I need access to your stockroom. Her eyebrows shot up. At this hour? Do you have a warrant? Not yet, I admitted, but I can have one within the hour if necessary. Or we could keep this simple. Doris sighed, folding her arms. What's this about, Captain? A missing persons case, potentially connected to this location. She studied me for a moment, then nodded reluctantly. Fine. Follow me. The stockroom was larger than I expected, with high metal shelves stacked with inventory. Cardboard boxes labeled with product codes lined the walls. My eyes scanned each surface, each shelf, looking for anything resembling the nail in the Polaroid. What exactly are you looking for? Doris asked, hovering nervously. I'll know it when I see it, I replied, methodically working my way deeper into the room. And then I saw it. On the far wall, partially hidden behind a stack of paper towels, a small nail protruding from the cinder block wall. The exact nail from the Polaroid. My heart raced as I approached. There was no necklace now, but the nail was unmistakable. Has anyone unusual had access to this room recently? I asked Doris. Someone who doesn't work here, or maybe a new employee? She shrugged. We've had some turnover. New stock boy started about 3 weeks ago. Quiet fellow, keeps to himself. I need his name and contact information. Doris hesitated. Look, I don't want any trouble. Doris, I interrupted, this could be connected to a young woman who disappeared 15 years ago. Before she could respond, my phone vibrated. A text message from an unknown number. Captain Reeves, it's not safe to bring Walter inside. They're watching. I felt the blood drain from my face. Nobody knew I was here with Walter. Nobody should have known my name or number. Before I could process this, a crash echoed from the front of the store. I rushed out to find the blue-haired employee standing shocked, broom in hand, staring at the entrance. He just collapsed, the kid stammered, pointing outside. Walter lay sprawled on the wet pavement, unconscious. I ran to him, checking for a pulse. It was there, but weak. As I called for an ambulance, I noticed something clutched in his hand, another Polaroid. This one showed Sarah's necklace again, but the background was different. It looked like a hospital room, modern, not from 15 years ago. As sirens wailed in the distance, I gently took the Polaroid. On the back, written in neat block letters, St. Mary's Hospital, room 318, she's alive. Folks watching our channel know I don't scare easily, but I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. If you're following this investigation, please check that you're still subscribed. YouTube's been removing followers lately. A quick like also helps this story reach others who might have information. Now, back to Walter. The ambulance arrived within minutes. As they loaded him in, I noticed a dark sedan parked across the street, its engine running. When our eyes met, the driver quickly pulled away. I memorized the partial plate number as the ambulance doors closed. Whatever was happening here went beyond a missing girl case. Someone knew I was involved now, and they were sending a message. Was Sarah really alive after all these years? And if so, who had been keeping her hidden? And why? The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital seemed to buzz with a frequency that set my teeth on edge. Room 318 was at the end of a long corridor on the 3rd floor, the psychiatric ward. I'd been up all night, first following the ambulance that took Walter to Portland General, then racing here after he was stabilized. The doctors had no explanation for his collapse beyond acute stress response. But I knew better. Someone wanted him out of the way. Can I help you? A nurse with tired eyes blocked my path, her badge reading Nurse Winters. Police business. I flashed my badge, keeping my voice low. I need access to room 318. Her expression shifted. Not surprise, but something else. Recognition. Fear? That's not possible, Captain. Room 318 is a restricted area. Restricted how? I pressed. It's part of our long-term care unit, private funding, strict visitation protocols. My pulse quickened. I have reason to believe a missing person may be inside. She glanced nervously at a security camera in the corner. Wait here. As she walked away, my phone vibrated. Another text from the unknown number. Look at her badge. Not hospital issue. I pulled up the mental image of Nurse Winters' ID. The logo was slightly different from the one displayed at the entrance. Before I could process this, a tall man in a tailored suit approached. Captain Reeves? Dr. Marcus Elliott, hospital administrator. I understand you're inquiring about one of our patients. Before you start to imagine what happens next, I want to quickly remind our viewers that YouTube has been unsubscribing people from channels lately. If you enjoy these true crime stories, please check if you're still subscribed and hit that like button. It really helps. Now, back to this unfolding mystery. Sarah Kovacs, I said firmly. I have reason to believe she's in room 318. His smile remained fixed. I assure you, Captain, there's no patient by that name here. Then you won't mind if I verify that myself. His expression hardened. Without a warrant, I'm afraid I must insist you leave. As we locked eyes in silent challenge, my phone buzzed again. The message chilled me. Pull fire alarm. Northeast stairwell. 30 seconds. I had no reason to trust this anonymous texter, but every instinct told me they were my only ally here. I reached for the alarm. The chaos that followed gave me exactly the window I needed. As water sprinklers drenched the hallways and staff scrambled to evacuate patients, I slipped away toward the northeast stairwell. There, standing in the shadows, was a young orderly, no more than 25, with eyes that looked much older. "Follow me," he whispered. "Quickly." We descended to a sub-level not indicated on the evacuation maps. As alarms blared overhead, he led me through a maze of utility corridors to a reinforced door marked 318B. "She's in there," he said, sliding a keycard through the reader. "You have 3 minutes before security override." The door opened to reveal not a hospital room, but what looked like a small apartment. And there, sitting at a window overlooking a projected nature scene, was a woman in her late 20s. Sarah Kovacs had her father's eyes. What happens next? What dark secrets connect a demolished psychiatric hospital to this hidden facility? And who has been keeping Sarah here all these years? You won't believe the truth we'll uncover in our final chapter. "Sarah?" I whispered, stepping into the room. She turned slowly, her eyes vacant at first, then focusing with a sudden sharp clarity. "You're not one of them." "I'm Captain Reeves, Portland PD." My hand trembled as I approached. "Your father sent me." "My father?" Her voice cracked. "They told me he was dead." "He nearly was. They've kept him homeless, discredited on the streets of Portland for years. All to hide what they did to you." Behind me, the orderly checked his watch nervously. "Security override in 2 minutes." Sarah stood, steadier than I expected. "They call themselves the Restoration Project. Pharmaceutical research, they said, but it's mind control experiments, picking up where MK Ultra left off." My blood ran cold. "Why you?" "Because I saw something I shouldn't have at the old psychiatric hospital. A congressman's son. They were treating him differently." She grabbed a hidden notebook from beneath her mattress. "I've documented everything." Alarms intensified overhead. The orderly burst in. "They've spotted us on cameras. We need to move, now." We raced through service corridors as security teams converged from above. At the loading dock, Walter waited in my car. The mysterious texter had freed him from Portland General. "Sarah!" he cried as we emerged, tears streaming down to his weathered face. 3 days later, the FBI raided St. Mary's based on Sarah's evidence. 7 arrests, including Dr. Elliott and 2 state officials. The congressional hearing starts next month. Walter isn't homeless anymore. He's staying with Sarah in my guest house while they rebuild their lives. Sometimes I find them on the porch swing, making up for lost decades, watching the rain that no longer seems so cold or threatening. That old man I found sitting in the rain outside the precinct wasn't crazy after all. He was just a father who never stopped looking for his daughter. Sometimes the most incredible stories begin with a simple act of kindness. An umbrella offered in the rain, a moment to listen when no one else would. If you've enjoyed this true story of justice finally served, please subscribe to our channel for more incredible real-life mysteries. Your support means everything as we continue sharing stories that might otherwise remain hidden. Until next time, remember, behind every seemingly homeless person on our streets, there might be a story we need to hear.